Well, life is getting weird. Now it's making me do this in horizontal mode, but we'll figure that out, I guess. Uh, Somebody's doing something to my equipment, guys. We're being hacked. You gotta go to work on that with the spiritual warfare. But ask the Lord to punish them so bad they can't hack me or anyone else ever again. Let's go to work on that. I'm getting stuff all over the place. I don't know how they're doing it. But they're hacking in such a way they don't want me to know they're hacking. That's what it looks like. So, well, anyway, here we are. This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, 24th of July. It's a Thursday. It's 8:55 in the morning. I'm dealing with the neighbor next door with the fence, and the fence is being moved today, and that's working out well. And let me see what else we got. If I got any prayers going out here, let's see. Hmm. Okay, what we're going to cover today is the fires in America. That needs to be covered. And what happened with Iran and an American warship in the Sea of Oman, which is right next to the Persian Gulf. That's pretty serious. And we're going to discuss what happened to 50 Jewish kids going to camp up in Spain, I think yesterday. And we're going to talk about Israel's proposals for the West Bank and Gaza, which are pretty shocking that they're actually going to do these things, or maybe they're just going to do the West Bank. And Jordan, of course, is protesting about us. We're going to annex the West Bank. And that puts it under Israeli civilian law. It's a difference. It's not that massive of a difference. I've studied it in years past. It's interesting. I mean, um, we're going to go through, like, Minnesota had flooding. We're going to talk about the droughts. And we'll have a good time. Then we're going to do binding and loosing and praying and agreeing. And keep driving the unclean spirits into the dirt. I'm going to go into the live stream, make sure we got ourselves a live stream.
Episode, we uncover how Al Jazeera and...
That's not me. I got to get rid of this. And go here. The horizontal ain't half bad, really. Go here. You guys can see my hair there, and you can see that it's all dark. If you go back into my older videos before I did red light therapy, it was gray. Pretty interesting how it actually turned my hair back to its color. Oh, Cambodia and Thailand are fighting. Breaking news. Well, we did Thailand, we didn't do Cambodia. Try to remember that. Okay, I'm going to put a post up in the live stream real quick, and then we'll get going. What Iran did was pretty interesting to the American warship. It was something, I think, Fitzgerald and Arleigh Burke class. I'll break it down for you. It's pretty cool. There was no damage to anybody, but we'll go through it. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Before I forget, my Heavenly Father, I loose on any persons trying to mess up my equipment for going online, my tablets and my phones. I loose on them boils and lice, and I pray also you would make them miserable and unable to ever do anything like this to me or anyone else in the future. And I would ask you that this misery lasts for many years or until they get cut off from the walking around on top of the earth. And I ask this for you, my Heavenly Father, because it's annoying and it keeps happening. And I ask you to intervene this way, and I believe this is the only way they're going to ever stop, is to physically be punished. I don't think they'll stop any other way. That's why I'm asking this, and I ask this loosing B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and we can agree. Like I say, it's time to step up our game to getting into a different level, okay? A different level. And we're showing no fear, we're just moving ahead. Now, they don't know what happens if we do this. They've never seen it before, okay? When was the last time you ever heard of any church doing what I just did? No, you never did, right? Okay, so maybe it happened thousands of years and 2,000 years ago with the apostles. I believe it did, but not in these days. Okay. So 50 Jewish kids were going to a camp trip. I don't know, sleepaway camp probably, and they were on a Spanish airliner plane in Spain, and I think before the plane took off, the camp leader or whatever was just accompanying the kids, it was probably 2 or 3 people, they had the kids start singing some Jewish songs in, I guess, in Hebrew. I doubt it would be in Yiddish, probably Hebrew. And the flight attendants demanded them and made sure that all the 50 kids, and I guess the adults, exited the plane, did not take off with the plane, and were told that Israel is a terrorist country, and that's why this is happening. Now, these kids were not Israelis. They were just Spanish kids, I believe. I think they were Spanish kids from Spain that were Jewish. It's beginning to look like 1939. So that is a very bizarre event. So what happened in the Sea of Oman? The Arleigh Burke, I think it's called the Fitzgerald, it's a fairly modernized Arleigh Burke class destroyer, was by itself, which is, in my opinion, a dumbbell move. It should be at least with one other vessel, if not two. But it was by itself. Is it vulnerable by itself? I would say so, and I'll give you the breakdown as to why I say that and what happened. So, the Sea of Oman is by the country of Oman, which is to the right or the east of UAE. It's just outside the Persian Gulf. So a helicopter, they have videos of this. I put some of the video up on my Telegram site. So the video shows a helicopter, 1980s helicopter. It looks like he's about 500 yards away from the boat, and he's maybe 800 yards, and he's probably 150, 250 feet up. And he's communicating with the boat and telling them they're in Iranian international waters, and they've got to move, and they need to follow course so-and-so, and they gave him the number of the course route they wanted them to follow, the American destroyer. Along with the helicopter were several, and I don't know how many yet, several go-fast boats. Now, these boats can shoot anti-ship missiles. They have heavy machine guns, which could be 20 millimeter or 50 millimeter, or 50 cal. 50 cal would damage the boat. I don't think it would be that bad, but bad. 20 millimeter or 25 or 30 millimeter gun would start shredding the boat, okay? It would be serious damage rather quickly, and you got 40, 50 rounds hitting the conning towers, the control towers on the boat, maybe killing the guys and all kinds of stuff, Armor proofing against a 20 millimeter gun or higher is, the glass is going to be 6 or 8 inches thick, and they don't have that there. So you would be able to kill guys in the conning tower. Anybody out on the deck would get shot, but it'd be rare you'd see people walking around on the deck in a combat situation, so I doubt that would apply. They could shoot the radar and shred that. They could shoot antennas. They could do quite a lot of damage. Now, the Arleigh Burke boat has 2 anti-ship launchers, each with 4 anti-ship missiles, so it could have hit 8 targets theoretically. So it could attack the go-fast boats, but I seriously doubt they would get a hit. Why? Because the go-fast boats are very fast. They're going to go at least 45, 50 miles an hour, up to 70 or 80. Some boats can go 90, 100 miles an hour. I would say they're probably mostly running around 50 to 65 miles an hour. Of course, they're carrying a lot of weight. And they're very, they could swerve very quickly, make it very, very difficult for a missile to get to them. Just keep swerving, They don't have any anti-missile defense that would work, that I'm aware of. I doubt they do. All right. Some of these boats have torpedoes that they launch off the deck. So they aim the go-fast boat at the ship, and they fire torpedoes. They have 2 torpedoes. They launch off the ship like a PT boat in World War II did. They're probably about the size of a PT boat, maybe smaller. PT boats were big enough for the guys to live in there. They had a toilet, a shower, they had cots, with bunks where they could sleep. They had a kitchen, so they had a place to store food, and they'd go out for a few days at a time. I don't know, maybe they went for 2 days or 3 days or something. They wouldn't go for too long. They didn't have that kind of fuel capacity, To stay out longer, they probably took barrels, 50-gallon barrels of fuel and put a few of those in the boat. But they have to get within torpedo range, which would probably be within a mile of the ship, which would be dangerous for them, and launch the torpedoes. And at a close distance, at a mile, I think the Arleigh Burke would be able to evade the torpedoes. However, if they fired a pattern from, let's say, 4 boats, 8 torpedoes, that could be very problematic for the Arleigh Burke, and it might get hit. Okay? Now, the Arleigh Burke also has a 5-inch gun. It's often used for anti-aircraft fire with special shells that probably create a flak effect, scatter shrapnel. Or it may lock onto a target as a precise shell. And it also could be used against the ship. A 5-inch gun is nothing to sneeze at. It's a pretty powerful gun when you're hitting ships, okay? And it's radar controlled, so it's lethal. Could it hit the go-fast boats? Again, they're moving so fast and they'll be swerving. I don't know how effective it would be. It fires rapid fire. It probably would eventually tag some of the boats, I guess. It's got 450 caliber guns on it, which is definitely enough to shred a go-fast boat. So those are, I don't know if they're computer radar operated or they have operators. My guess is they have operators, which would probably be pretty good with the boat swerving, because they would be able to predict what kind of patterns the operator of the boat is making and lead them and get them. In addition, it has two 25 millimeter guns, which is more deadly than a 20 millimeter. It's a pretty powerful thing. And I'm pretty sure that's used to attack ships, or possibly a land target if you were close. The range of these guns is probably in the vicinity of 5 miles. So you could, if you were a mile or 2 offshore, you could fire at short targets with that. And then it has a capacity of 90 missiles of various kinds, cruise missiles and other than the anti-ship missiles, which have their own separate launchers. So this thing is loaded for bear, okay? You could have 90 missiles. It has probably 16 tubes at one time it could fire. And it's loaded for bear. Now, the question is, if they were up against 4 or 10 go-fast boats, what would happen? I would say a very high probability, probably 75 to 95%, depending on how many of the boats there were, the ship would get hit with several different weapons and be damaged. Do I think they would sink it? No, that'd be possible if they hit it with torpedoes, but I doubt it. What about the chances of damaging the ship and then being able to pick it off with more go-fast boats and stuff like that? Well, the goal of the Iranians would most likely be to damage the boat, get it to go still in the water, or get it to, let's see if I can get this closer, get it dead in the water, get it, I'll fix that in a second, or get it to you have to go slow. And then they could go after. Am I getting my head cut off? Maybe. Let's push it back a little. And then they could get it, they could get them to surrender, and then they would have 250 or so sailors as hostages, and they'd put them in jail, and they'd love something like that, because then they could tell the Israelis and the Americans, if you attack us again, we're going to start cutting the heads off these sailors on the internet, and everybody's going to see it. That's how these people behave. So, for all these various reasons, the Iranians said that this Arleigh Burke destroyer complied with their instructions and left. It may not have taken the course that they told it to take. I'm trying to see where I am here with this thing. It may not have taken the course that they wanted it to take, but it went out of the area. Now, I believe they radioed back for instructions, and knowing Trump, I would say 99%, Trump would tell the ship to just leave. Why? Well, predominantly because the ship had a very high probability of getting destroyed, sailors getting killed, the ship getting sunk, or worse, which would have been the goal of the Iranians, the sailors captured and taken and used as hostages. They would have used them against sanctions. Lift our sanctions or we'll kill the hostages. So Trump, being a cowardly chap, which he definitely is, nobody could say anything but that, said, well, get the ship out of there. They didn't fire on the ship, just leave. See, he reduced his naval presence in the Persian Gulf by a lot because he's afraid of losing ships. They can take ships down. So he's afraid of losing them. And this is his cowardly behavior. Now, I'm going to cover some more cowardly behavior with him and the Houthis and show you the very bad implications of this. Now, this has very bad implications for America, not Israel, because they know Israel will fight. They try to do this with an Israel ship. Number one, they wouldn't catch an Israel ship alone like this out there. Number two, Israel wouldn't pay attention to them like that, you know. But anyway, I want to check the live stream for a minute. How effective it would be. It fires rapid fire. So Trump, being a cowardly chap. We're okay. Some people don't like me talking about Trump like that, but you need to wake up to Trump. Yeah, guys, it helps if you hit the like button. It takes you 2 seconds. It's amazing how many people won't even do that. Okay. Egypt and the Houthis in Yemen. Now, you know Trump was attacking Yemen with half-hearted attempts with aircraft many times, and he gave up. And he told them, because they were damaging his ships. They damaged 2 aircraft carriers. Planes were getting shot down, you know. So Trump said, "Hey, if you stop if we stop attacking you, will you stop attacking our ships?" The Houthis said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And that's what happened. But the Houthis did not stop attacking civilian vessels, and I think the other day, I think they attacked an American ship again. My memory, they didn't really cause any serious damage. I think they attempted it, but I can't remember the details. I don't know. Something did happen, but I can't recall what it was. So we'll have to call that let's leave it alone because I don't know. Okay. So what did this genius Trump do? That got Egypt going? I know it's in my notes, but I could do it off my head, but I want to get the details. Well, I'll just do it off the details. The Houthis said that they were not going to let Egyptian ships pass through the Red Sea area. And the reason they said it is because Egypt will not open up the Rafah crossing to let humanitarian aid come in through the Rafah crossing. Now, this is moronic, and the Houthis are playing against Egypt. Now, remember, Egypt is a punk country. They're afraid. They like to talk tough and do nothing. Okay? But that'll change. They will become our enemy in the very near future. So they have 100,000 plus soldiers in the Sinai Peninsula on the border with Israel and also right at the border with Gaza. And they're saying their fear is that they don't want the Gazans pushing into Israel. And their soldiers are dug in for the long haul. They've got embankments and they're dug in with tanks and stuff. And the reason for that may be, of course, they want to have the option to attack Israel, but the Gaza is so badly destroyed, even when the war is over, they're afraid people are going to start pushing into Egypt, Gazans. So they were letting them in a few months ago for $5,000 a head, but they're not doing that anymore. Okay, so what is going on? Well, Egypt doesn't want to open the Rafah crossing because, number one, it's not needed. Because we're getting... I want to check my... I don't know what this thing's doing. No, it seems to be working. They don't need the food in there. There was 2.2 million portions of food brought in yesterday, and there's massive amounts of food on standby outside that they're waiting to bring in. The UN is bringing the food in and giving it to Hamas, which is stupid because they're just making sure Hamas stays well fed. And then Hamas takes the food and puts it in shops and stalls in the shuks with their friends and themselves and sells the food for high prices, very, very high prices. And then takes the money and uses it for payroll and expenses for Hamas. So the UN gives them the food. Very little of that food goes to the civilians. So the other aid coming in, which Israel and America work on, does not go to Hamas, and they try like heck to keep Hamas's hands off it. So Hamas is on a phony starvation campaign saying people are starving. Now, we saw a picture yesterday, I believe I put it up on my Telegram. There was a child that had some type of disease and looked emaciated with bad weight, and the parents are standing there. And they're saying, look, the child can't eat, it's starving. Yet the parents were quite plump. So that's how stupid they are, you know? And the Houthis is just as stupid, you know? So this is what's going on. Okay. There's no starvation. It's a phony lie to try to get all the food shifted to them so they could control it. The latest Gaza ceasefire that the idiot Witkoff and Trump, Witkoff's like a pretty dull person. I mean, he said that, well, we're hoping to make a deal again with Hamas this week. It's so absurd. The latest counter proposal that Hamas came up with was so absurd that the Qatar people that were handling the negotiations, which are enemies of Israel, wouldn't even present it to Israel. It was so stupid, it was pointless to present it. See, as long as Trump's poking around, they're pretty sure that nothing bad's going to really happen to them. Okay? We put some video and footage up of these Hamas in the tunnels displaying how much food they got. They got food for a few months. They keep it that way. So this is just another massive rumor. It's not real. There is no shortage, okay, of food down there. And if there is, it's Hamas doing it. And they're the ones killing people trying to steal the food. They robbed some private food deliveries coming in, not humanitarian aid. It came in on trucks. I think it was flour or something that they intended to sell to the shopkeepers to use to sell food to the public. And the Gazans robbed that. So they're robbing private people, you know, or companies or something like that. So what's going on in Israel politically with the West Bank and with Gaza? Well, they put a proposal in to the Knesset, that's our Congress, and one house Congress, 120 seats, to pass a law annexing the West Bank as part of Israel, and that would put the West Bank under Israel civil law. The implications of this are not so dramatic. Things would pretty much continue the way they were, I think. I don't think much would change. Politically, it would be inflammatory like all get up. And there was a bill in the Knesset which I think was put in by Smotrich, probably endorsed by Ben-Gvir, the two right-wingers. And they want to move 1.2 million Israelis into Gaza. And they want to build 300,000 housing units. Now, these units got different flavors, okay? Let me explain how they can do it. One way to do it, and they will do it, is to use apartments. So they're not going to go that high up. They might go 6 to 10 stories, I would guess. And they'd put about 5, 6, 8 apartments on the floor. They would have 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom apartments. That would be it. They'd have a small balcony, but a balcony. They would have a they could build them different ways. They don't always put a toilet in the master bath. The 3-bedroom would have 2 bathrooms, I believe, and probably one in the hall, and then maybe one in the master bedroom or one somewhere else. You'd probably be looking at about 12 to 1,400 square feet. Maybe they'd shrink it to 11 or 1,200. It would be some size to it, right? You would have a living room area, you'd have a kitchen eating area next to the kitchen, and you'd have a kitchen. You'd have a little laundry area where it would have clothesline capability, and you'd be able to put a washer and dryer. And that would be about it. And then the 2-bedroom would just probably have 1 bathroom, and it probably wouldn't be in the master. Or they might put, if they were nice, they'd put a full bath in the master and just a toilet outside for guests and other people. They could do that. I've seen that. I lived in a place that way. But I think I had 4 bedrooms. I had about 1,600 square feet. That was a long time ago, decades. So, the other way they would do it is they would build townhouses. Now, the way that works is they put up a 12 to 14, 1,500 square foot place. It has a very small front yard with a sidewalk, and you can put a little white picket fence up if you want or whatever. And then it has a backyard, which is no great shakes. You could have a small garden, grow a few things probably. And it would have a patio that you'd probably have to cover, although they might make it with a cover. It'd be a slab of concrete that would be probably 5 to 6 feet out and 15, 18 feet across. And they'd have sliding glass doors to go from the living room out there, and people would like that a lot because they would barbecue on that. Most likely they would cover it with some sort of an awning so people could keep out of the sun and the rain and cook out there. Barbecue grill. And that would be about it, They might fence it, they might not. Inside, they would build 2 bedrooms on the lower level with 2 bedrooms, which would be a bedroom and a master bedroom. And you would have a living area. When you walk in, you'd probably walk into the living room. And then as you got back to one side in the rear of the house, you'd have your kitchen and your dining room area, which would be nothing great. On the other side of the house would be the bedrooms, probably. And you'd have a washroom in there somewhere. The house would be built without closets, because that's how they do it here. It would be built without insulation. No snide remarks. I know they're behind the times. It would probably have no insulation. It'd be all concrete or concrete block. And the upstairs can be just left alone and you'd have a high ceiling. Or they would put a loft in. Usually they charge another $10,000 or $15,000 or something. And they'd put a loft in there, which would be a bedroom and likely no bathroom. And so for people with kids, that would be advantageous because they would create it into a 3-bedroom. And you wouldn't have a garage, you'd have a concrete slab to park a car on. And then you could buy at your own expense some metal poles that install in the concrete, and they got some sort of a covering, which is good because it keeps the sun and the rain off your car. So in the summer, your car is going to sit substantially cooler. So you don't just have a roof, you want to have sides on the thing that come down at least 2 or 3 feet. So you block most of the sun when the sun's at its hottest. And that's how you do it. And it works, you know. I don't know if they'll do those in Gaza. They've done those in the West Bank area, and you know, I don't know what they would do with Gaza. I really don't know. Also, they put not mobile homes. A mobile home, yeah, they put mobile homes. A motorhome is a Winnebago. No, they don't do that. They're rare in Israel to see a motorhome. Very, very rare. But a mobile home, they put those in the West Bank very frequently. So, you know, usually they're 26 feet to 40 feet. They have some that are of excellent, excellent quality from Germany and other places in Europe. They're very, very good. And that's not what Smotrich is wanting to do at the beginning. That's probably how it would start. Okay. The net effect of this is going to be as follows. As long as Netanyahu is prime minister, he's never going to go for that. So Netanyahu is going to be diametrically opposed to the Israelites taking Gaza back. He does not believe in Bible prophecy and doesn't want to see anything like that. He's basically a self-hating Jew. So that's, if Netanyahu gets kicked out on a vote of no confidence, which is a possibility for sure these days, and the new guy comes in, yeah, it might come to pass. Trump will hate it, and he's probably going to think it's a good idea to put sanctions on Smotrich and or Ben-Gvir if they haven't already done it, but I think they already did it. So this could cause a big rift between Trump and the United States. You got to remember, Trump wants this land called Gaza for himself. And the reason he's letting Netanyahu run around bombing it every day we're bombing Gaza. It's been going on for what, the last 60 days? You know, I mean, more and more structures are being destroyed in Gaza. Houses, he does targeted strikes, you know, to take out leaders of the criminal terrorist groups, so their houses go. You know, it's constantly we're hitting residences, and you know, the streets, what happens? They're full of rubble from the buildings that fall. So you can't drive, and the roads, they're full of rubble unless they clear it. And the roads are probably broken up themselves. So the Israelites wouldn't be able to move in until there was actual construction of housing units. This thing is a rehash of what Naftali Bennett said he was going to do. I think it was 400,000 units, and he was going to do it in the West Bank. The advantage of this is Israel doesn't have to pay for the land, so they can make this low-cost housing, which I don't think Netanyahu wants at all. He wants to see Israelis leave Israel. He wants to see, he's anti-Messianic. He doesn't want him here, and he doesn't want any more Jews coming here. He's very anti-Aliyah, the worst. He's a horrible individual. So what does this bum want to do? Well, the West Bank, he's going to go behind that because it's politically going to look good, and it's going to play well with a lot of the people that have a right-wing orientation, and it's not going to really amount to a hill of beans in terms of how people live their life over there, as I understand it. Now, if they start sectioning areas off and saying this is a Palestinian area, this is a Jewish area, but that's not it. They're taking the opposite direction. The whole thing's under our jurisdiction now. But it always was. I mean, it's, maybe Kupat Halim, the healthcare centers will move out there. I don't even know if they're there or not. They might move out there. I don't know. Schools would be different, maybe with schools, with the healthcare system. I don't know. Maybe more stores will open up there, more postal service. It's not going to be revolutionary. The Gaza thing will be revolutionary because it's going to take us back 20 years to when we had Gaza. We gave it up in 2005. The soldiers came and dragged the people out. Our soldiers came. The Americans brought this on us. So now they don't want us to have it back. They want to have it. Through Trump. God's going to drop on him. So that's one big reason why he's going to resist this, move the Israelites back in. It would open up lower cost housing for the Israelites. That would be the goal here. They're not, so if you want to go to, let's say, just pick a small rural town like Afula, are you going, which is in the middle of nowhere, but it's probably got 40 to 50, maybe 60,000 people. It's rather safe. It's not a big target for missile attacks. It's in the middle of nowhere. The weather's hot. It's not a bad looking place. It's kind of okay. They got shops and stores and restaurants and stuff like that. Okay. So just pick that as a target. And if you wanted to get a smallish 2-bedroom apartment to buy it, I would think you're at least 200,000 US dollars, not shekels, US dollars. Probably more like 250, 260. It's going to be a noisy building. You're going to definitely hear your neighbors. You're going to have no garage. You'll just have parking around the building where you just park. They might have assigned parking spaces, probably not, so the parking stinks. Likely have an elevator, although I do see them make some 4 or 5 story buildings, walk-ups, but probably have an elevator. And it's not a nice place. It's an adequate place, okay? So Smotrich was trying to get these things done for about, I think he was talking $110,000 in the West Bank. So it would have been very helpful for the people to be able to afford something like that. Let me explain that to you. Okay? I think they usually do more like a 20-year mortgage in Israel, but let's try to work this out for you. All right, let's play, let's give it a, let's say it was 110,000. And let's just do a straight payback over 20 years without interest to get a look at it, right? So we say we divide it by 20. So you're at $5,500 a year. This isn't the exact best way to do it, but 5,500, and then we divide that by 12. And you're at $458 a month. Okay, so let's make it 500 because there's going to be some tax on it. So let's just say it's $500 a month, and let's put on some interest on that. Interest rates right now are pretty low, so we'll just do it on the monthly payment because that should work out. So you have $500 a month, and I don't know, let's say you got 11% interest or something like that. Let's be generous, 12%. I don't think it's anywhere near that high. We shouldn't go that high. Let's say 10%, okay? So we multiply the 500 times 1.1, and we come up with $550 a month. And you might have some extras for insurance or that. So let's be very generous and say $600 a month. To rent that apartment in Israel isn't going to be anywhere near $600 a month. Okay, it's going to be probably $1,500 a month. So you're getting in for about a third of your rental cost. In addition, after you make the payments for 20 years, you have no payment. Okay, now if you're going to do a 30-year mortgage, then it's going to cost them nothing. So it gives you a chance to own a house, get out from under mortgages over 20 years, or you could double and triple your payments and accelerate that 20 years down to 9 or 10 years. If you want to do it 8 years, the bank's not going to have a fight with you over that, And what happens? Well, now you don't pay rent anymore. These buildings last for 70, 80, 100 years, They don't, okay. So what would they do in Gaza? They would do that. You see, they don't have to pay for the land, and then the taxes wouldn't be excessive. And you go down there to get you to live there. The government makes the housing cheap, and I'm sure Smotrich would set it up for cheap housing. It didn't emphasize it, but that's what they would do because there's no real land cost involved. Okay, so they give the land to the people pretty inexpensively, and the taxes would be down. In addition to that, they would give you what they do normally is give you a tax break on your income because you're living there. And like if you go to a lot, you don't pay 18% VAT, which is pretty interesting. Living in a lot gives you a pretty good advantage of things. Now, if you import, let's say you go to Amazon and you want to buy junk, I don't know, you want to buy Levi's and New Balance running shoes and Levi's and a couple of hoodies and stuff like that, right? So you build up the $250 order. Okay, let's break it down and show you the savings. Because I thought about moving there. So you got $250 in goods. Whoops, this didn't work out. I got to get back and. So you got 250, and now you're shipping. Let's say you use the post office and it's free. So now you got to multiply this by 1.18. So it's $295. But let's talk about when you go to the food store and you buy stuff there, and they're hitting you with 18% tax. So let's say, you're probably spending 2,500 a month on food for a couple or two. Now it's very expensive here. 2,500, and then you got to hit that with the tax. So you got 1.18. Yeah, you got they're hitting you with 450 shekels there. Okay. Then your gasoline's going to be cheaper, I believe. Your, I think your electricity is more reduced. Whenever you buy a phone or a computer, it's a substantial savings, but that's something that happens every 2 or 3 years usually, or something. It's not every day, so that's just another added advantage. So you get, now what is it like living in a lot? Well, I'm supposed to be in the Galilee, so it's not relevant for me. But what's it like down there? Well, in the winter months, you don't have a miserable winter. You're in the 60s, and you don't get very much rain, because you're down near Saudi Arabia. You don't get much rain over there, and you don't get the really cold weather. And in the summer, you get the heat, but it's like Tiberius or something. It's not that big a deal, but it's not pleasant either. And what is there to do there? Well, you got a lot of shops down there because you got the duty free. There's people that if you want to buy, let's say, a expensive tablet or expensive phone, you could buy a phone for, $1,000 or something like that, right? So they're saving $180. So they'll take a bus down to a lot. They'll phone ahead and make sure the thing's waiting for them to take a bus down there from, let's say, Haifa or wherever they are, go pick up the phone and then get back on the bus and go home. So they saved $180 for sitting on a bus all day. Or they could drive. They'd probably burn the gas. But it could be more expensive. There's people that are going to buy a computer for $4,000, or an expensive camera or something like that, or perhaps jewelry, or maybe they going to buy a lot of clothes for 3 kids to go back to school, and that adds up. Or maybe for 5 kids, and they go down there and knock it off all at once. So a lot of people do use that, take advantage of that. We don't, because we don't spend money like that. But if you were going to hire an accountant or a lawyer or something like that, you would pay cheaper. I think also a dentist. Let me see if Israel does actually tax the food with VAT. I don't even know. I think they tax everything, but let's check. Maybe they don't. Does Israel apply VAT tax to food? Um, Tips don't have a VAT tax on them. So if you're going to tip a waitress $1, you don't have to give her $1.18. But services are VAT'd in Israel, which you don't get in America. They don't put VAT is called value added tax. It's a sales tax, you could say, combined with an import tax, and they don't put it on services in America, but here they do. So if you hired somebody to paint your roof or your house, they would pay VAT on what you paid them. Or if you paid a lawyer or an accountant, I guess it's basically on any transaction. It's pretty much not excluded. So whatever you're spending money on in the rest of Israel, you're paying 18%. So if you go to a lot, you're getting an 18% write down. And that ain't bad. When you go to the restaurant, they put 18% on your bill. You're not getting 18% in a lot. So is your cost of living better in a lot? Yeah, pretty much across the board it's down by 18%. Is the housing very expensive down there? No. Are the shops very expensive there? No, the shops are like the rest of Israel, but they're cheaper because there's no VAT. So they're basically going to sell you the stuff at the same price. So if you wanted to buy a box of toothpicks, okay, and it was $2 or something like that, it's going to be $2 in a lot and $2 in Haifa or Tel Aviv. The difference is you're going to pay 36 cents in tax in the rest of Israel, but not in Haifa. So everything is cheaper. Do they jack the prices up because they know the 18% isn't there? No, they don't. They don't really do that. They're getting moochers down there. So that's an interesting phenomenon. 18% write down on your everything you do. And then I think property tax is cheaper. It's got its advantages. I'm not supposed to go down there, so I won't. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Everything is built up rather in the last 30 years or so, 35 years, so it's pretty modern. We have stuff in Israel that goes back pre-1948, especially in Jerusalem and stuff. You see stuff there was built 1920 and stuff like that, walk-up apartments and things like that. So yeah, you got, it's an interesting concept to go to a lot, but you're isolated from the rest of Israel. From the Galilee, well, from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, you're probably looking at about, 3 hours, maybe. Let's see, from Jerusalem. A little more, 3 hours, 45 minutes. See, that's why people would go there to save money on a computer or a camera or an expensive cell phone or something like that. Because it's back and forth. You start out in the morning, like, 8, 9 o'clock, and you're back for dinner, and you save yourself maybe $300, So people like that. And let's see what it is from Tel Aviv. It's about 4 hours. So the same thing, you can go from Tel Aviv or Jerusalem rather easily. And then, there's always an option of taking a bus. Now, do they have any trains to a lot? Let me see. Does Israel have train service in Eilat? Didn't work. Does Israel have train service to Eilat? Yep, they do. They got it from Tel Aviv in 2 hours or less. Okay. So that's pretty cool, especially if you're old like us and don't have to pay to ride the train. So if we lived in Tel Aviv, we could go get on the train at 9 o'clock in the morning after rush hour, be there 11, have lunch, pick up our item, get back on the train, and be home by 2:30, 3:30. You know? Interesting. If you got sick and tired of being rainy and cold in Tel Aviv in the winter, but it doesn't get that cold in Tel Aviv because it's on the water. But anyway, enough on Eilat. So in the winter, the temperatures, it doesn't get to be like 80 degrees. The warm of the day might hit the low 70s, and it may also be 68 or 65 or 67. But the Europeans from the cold countries, which there's a number of, fly directly into Eilat from Europe very cheaply, like $200, $300 round trip. And they have an airport in Eilat, and they fly in and they get themselves an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever they want to get, and they take a vacation there because it's an easy, cheap flight. It's not like flying to, some island off of Africa or going to the Bahamas or something like that, right? It's an easy, steezy flight. The weather's not 85, 90 degrees, but it's warm enough for them to go swimming. So if you've got a winter where your temperature is going to be, 30 degrees to minus 10, or 0 or whatever, and, you're going to have a lot of days where it's going to be 5 or 10 degrees, and you get down there and it's 65 degrees, you're going in the water. Especially when the hotel has a heated pool. You're going swimming, or you may go in the ocean. I know when I was a kid, my rule of thumb to go swimming in the ocean was 70 degrees. If it was 70, I'd go swimming. If it wasn't 70, I didn't want to go swimming. So that's how I did it. But I know I used to go to Disney World, which you shouldn't do. I did it many, many years ago. I spent a lot of trips there, but there would be people coming from Canada in the winter where it's plenty cold. And it would be in the 60s in the winter in Orlando area where Disney is, and they'd fly in and get into the hotel in the evening, and they'd go, the park would, in the winter, closes 5, 6 o'clock, so they wouldn't go to the park. they'd go to the hotel room, throw the suitcases down, open them up, find their bathing suit, change into a bathing suit, grab a towel, and run down to the pool and start swimming. And it would be in the 60s, and I'd be walking around with a reasonably warm jacket because I was used to hot weather. And they would go down there, and that's what they would do. And they'd go swimming, and that'd be like a lot. So it works for these people. That's warm enough. If it's, in the 60s and you're coming from, 20-degree weather, it's 3 times plus warm, or 3 times as warm. You're going to get your chaise lounge by the pool, lay down there and get the sun. And then if it hits 70, even better. So they don't have to get up where they need air conditioning and it's like, so it works. It's a weird thing, I think it would probably be kind of fun to be there. There are Messianic congregations there, 2 or 3, but those are just churches. They're run by the same bums that run the churches, and with the other gospel and all that stuff. And they would, it was an interesting place. Interesting place. So I figured out how to get my groceries online. It worked. I had to use multiple devices. I had to use one device to do something, another device, and then another device to get it to go through. Boils and lice. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape over that. The days for them to be walking around above ground are really short, but give me a second. Great. Very good. Still having off and on intermittent trouble with my my tablet getting the live stream to go off. I don't know. I go and I read these problems. Other people have the same problems, not just me. There's other people that have the problem too. I found a new problem with my iPad. They got this thing on there called Siri, which used to work. You used to hear it go off sometimes during the live stream. I go, "Hey Siri," won't go on. I go into settings and I change it to always listen and go on, and it goes on once, and then it switches itself to the off position. So I look, why is this happening? I go through and I change all the settings I could possibly imagine. So why it doesn't do any good. Why did it happen? Because it forced me on a previous download to install Apple Artificial Intelligence, which hooks itself up with Siri. And it's flawed. It's not programmed correctly. Mind you, this is an Apple product with Apple programming for Apple, and it's not working right. Now, when I was a kid, there was a monkey that used to appear on TV, and he was a famous monkey, and his name was J. Fred Muggs. And he used to appear on TV wearing clothes, dressed like a little kid. Of course, he'd have a diaper underneath his pants. And they taught him how to roller skate. And he was a ham. And he would get on like Ed Sullivan's show and roller skate around on the stage. He was a panic. He was, and then the guy would pick him up and hold him like a baby. He probably was a full-grown chimpanzee, several years old, but he viewed his handler as his parent, as his mother or father. And that's, I think, a lot of times that's how your dog views you. But that's another conversation. So, uh, I don't know what happened to J. Fred Muggs, but now that I see the way Apple is programming their own devices, I'm getting the idea that J. Fred Muggs got a job at Apple as a programmer. That's a joke. I don't know how good of a joke, but it's a joke. They're so stupid. I mean, I go to the Apple forums and you see just loads of people saying, I can't get Siri to work. It doesn't work. I just disconnected it, you know. And they were pushing so hard to get, you had no option on the artificial intelligence. On the last upload, it had it, you know, the update, the last update, they forced it on you. The $1 million question is, why do these buffoons force uploads on you, updates? Isn't there something wrong there? Why they're forcing updates on you? Don't you think something's wrong? I think something's wrong. I don't know why they're shoving this stuff down our throats like they do, but something's not right. They all want us to get their stuff. Okay, let's get back into what's going on. Let me take a look at the live stream and see, you know, if you got prayer requests you want or toss requests, you can put them in the chat or email them, and I'll get to it and I'll get it done. But let's take a look and see if we got anything that needs to be dealt with here. No, I think we're good. Okay, let's get back into, oh, I think we got a couple of prayer requests here. Let me get on to that. Don't remember if it was from yesterday or we got new ones. Yesterday's I deleted, so we don't have those. Oh, no, I don't have any. Okay, a little while ago, a missile came from Yemen, and it never made the sirens go off in Israel because the missile just broke apart on its own and fell down. A real bunch of high IQ geniuses. Maybe J. Fred Muggs is working there as a missile builder. Tehran, now you got to listen to this. Hark, listen, hark, hark, listen, listen. I'm going to read it slowly and pay close attention. Tehran, that's the capital of Iran. Their water company announced that starting tomorrow, which I believe is today or it might be tomorrow, water supply to all pools in the city, both public and private, will be stopped. So that would mean if you had a private swimming pool and you covered it with one of those sheets that build up heat, the plastic or something like that, you'd probably be able to use your water for a while, maybe a few months, you know. But they're stopping it. And why are they stopping it? Because they're having a water shortage. Iran is experiencing the most severe drought in the last century. A century's 100 years, kids. So they're saying this is the most severe drought they had since 1925. And the water crisis is only worsening, not getting better. So according to the announcement, the interruption will continue with all the pools until further notice for the sake of public needs and national priorities. So isn't that curious? Another coincidence? No, I wouldn't say that. So, there were last night more explosions with fires in Iran in different locations, and I guess Nassau in the Bahamas is attacking Iran, huh? That's a joke. It's either us directly or using with jets or drones or working with the underground, the opposition to Iran doing it. Iran's blaming us for this, by the way. Iran's actually going to meet with Europe on the nuclear thing, but they said there's no way they're going to impede the nuclear thing. What they're doing is they're meeting with the Europeans to try to drag things out. What Iran needs to do when it comes to fighting Israel, let me explain. They managed to get someplace around 15% of their missiles in. That's not good for Israel. If you send 100, that's 15 hits. That's bad. Okay? So they're trying to build their inventory of good missiles. They revealed to us, an Iranian official revealed to us what happened at the very onset of the 12-day war, Israel against Iran. At the onset, they started mobilizing their missile launchers. And he said between 100 and 150 of them exploded as soon as they fired them up and got them ready to launch. That's the pagers all over again in a different format. We apparently hacked the systems and managed to, apparently we were blowing the missile up. And I expect they probably had dead people. That's just coming out. See, Israel keeps their mouth shut. If Iran doesn't want to say anything, we don't humiliate them, we just damage them. Because if you humiliate them, it's minimally effective and it gets them furious, and then they're going to try to save face and come at you severely. So you just keep your mouth shut and damage them, that's all. So Jordan is very condemning of the Knesset. Looks like it's going to pass a bill annexing Samaria and Judea to West Bank. Because of the fires in Canada, and there's fires in the U.S. too, the smoke has made its way to the Midwest, and we're being told it's damaging to the crops, potentially damaging to the crops, which leads itself to famine, of course. Floods lead itself to famine. All this heat waves we're getting leads to famine because it destroys crops. Some crops are more vulnerable than other crops. It has a variance, you know. So the smoke from Canada is becoming a problem. Minnesota had heavy rains and flooding. Minnesota. flash floods have closed the Medano Pass primitive road, the Medano Pass primitive road at Great Sand Dunes National Park due to thunderstorms, which means flooding. A lot of people are starting to get killed by lightning in America and other places, by the way, and that's a little bit unusual. So Smotrich's plan for Gaza is 1.2 million Israelis will relocate into Gaza. All Palestinians will be kicked out, and 300,000 housing units will be built, which would be low cost and it would be, of course, the land is free, so everything would be a good deal. And they might also do an 18% no tax down there too. The thing with Gaza is this beautiful, beautiful Mediterranean beachfront area, 25 miles of beachfront. So you're going to be giving people low-cost, beautiful beachfront property. So you could get yourself maybe a 3-bedroom apartment for $150,000 on the Mediterranean. Whereas if you were going to go to Italy or France or someplace like that and get that, you might wind up paying, 4 or 5 million for more even, Trump's going to hit the roof over this. What's Trump going to do? He's going to tell Netanyahu to shut it down. And if Netanyahu tries to shut it down, Smotrich is going to say, "I'll shut you down, you bum." Smotrich knows Netanyahu's a piece of garbage. So does Ben-Gvir. The problem is those jackasses want to persecute the Messianics. That's really the only problem with those bozos, is they want that. So, hey, before I forget, pray for me. One of my legs, where it meets the abdomen, has some sort of muscle sprain. It's in the muscle. It's not the bone. And when I pick my leg up, it hurts at certain positions, but it's the muscle. It's not a bone thing. It's not like out of joint. So pray for healing for me for my left leg that has a muscle issue where it connects to the upper body. I would appreciate those prayers. Yesterday it was so bad walking around the house that it was bad, and then I had to throw the garbage out yesterday. So I had 2 bags of garbage, and I walked, it's probably about 100 yards each way or something like that. So I was carrying the garbage, and I walked, and I brought it back, and it made it worse. But the garbage had to get thrown out. And my wife can't do it with her present state of recovery from what happened to us. So I did it, and then it got a lot worse. So it got so bad, I was walking around the house with my shillelagh. A shillelagh is a cane. it's also a fighting weapon, you know. So it's a cane. You can walk with a cane. Anyway, I was using my shillelagh to walk around to take the load off of this. It was so. Then when I went to sit in bed and pick my legs up, oh, that was murder. It would get a certain point of moving the leg, I'd feel it in the muscle. So I hit it with the red light this morning. That helped a little. I was going to use those patches on it, but I can't find the patches. What happened to them? I don't know where they are now. The ones I needed. I should bum some off my wife or something. So I just asked the Lord to heal it. So it is getting better. I did take during the night when I went to bed these things called naproxen. They're pretty good anti-inflammatories. They're over the counter. They're not a pain medicine or a central nervous system or drug or dope or anything like that. They're anti-inflammatory, and it did help some. So to compensate for the supermarket, I found this other store that's not too far away that delivers here. And I was able to get my dried fruit delivered there. And I got dried mango. And it has much less sugar than what I was used to getting. So that was pretty good. But then I got the order through for my groceries. So Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are going to go heavy on Trump's hate list for this with Gaza, and they're going to threaten Netanyahu and break the coalition, and Netanyahu's not going to know what to do. So he's going to be. You ever give a cat a little ball of aluminum foil and he bats it around like that? Well, that's Netanyahu's the ball of aluminum foil, and Trump is the cat's left paw, and Smotrich and Ben-Gvir is the cat's right paw. So Trump's going bing, 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 bing. And that piece of garbage, I have no sympathy for him. He is the worst leader Israel ever had, worse than King Saul, worse than any and all of them, by far. The worst. He holds our nose to the grindstone. He's horrible, horrible. Don't feel sorry for this guy. Why is he fighting the wars like that? Well, he's not doing a good job. He's dragging Gaza out. He's destroying all the real estate in Gaza. He doesn't, he's worthless. I mean, you don't need this bum. Our enemies in Gaza are still there. Our enemies in Yemen are still there. Our enemies in Lebanon, the Hezbollah, are still there. They just came out with an announcement, and they said under no circumstances are they surrendering their weapons. The Druze in Lebanon then said, well, we're not surrendering our weapons either, as did the Kurds in Syria. So what did the big, bad Trump administration do? They said, oh, you got till, I don't know, September or October or something like that to do it. Well, they just extended the deadline. What are they going to do in September? Extend it again. And then what? And again. Trump's a punk. Trump's afraid of everything. Trump is going to be a terrible curse on the United States. It already is. He signed 3 deals with tariffs. He got Japan, Indonesia, somebody else. And he's hitting them with 15, 18% tariffs like they hit his country, they hit America. So what about the other 195 countries that he didn't make a deal with? Oh, what about them? Well, we don't want to talk about that. We just want to talk about the 3 he made a deal with. That bum, that lying sack of garbage, told you when he was in his first term of presidency he would get rid of Obamacare. He never did it. In his second term of office, he never even mentions it. It's a lousy, stinking, rotten, expensive health care plan, and penalizes people who don't buy it, and it's sick, and he doesn't do away with it. That alone, you should realize he's no good. He's just another one of them. Now, more pictures of him and Epstein came out, videos and stuff like that. I put them up on Telegram today, on my Telegram. More of that is coming out. And their position is, oh, there was just very large social events and Trump went there. And they're saying that the reason they never released the Epstein records is because his name kept popping up over there in the logs. He was on Epstein's island. He's one of them. Look what he married, a transactional person that appeared in phony full nudity in porno magazines. That's the wife of this character. You think he never went to Epstein Island? He marries a porn person? Would you do that? People are stupid. Look, they put up with Netanyahu, they put up with Trump. People worship Netanyahu not as much as they worship Trump, but they worship Trump. It's stupid. People are stupid. That's why they're dominated by the Satan bots. Okay, let's get to work. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, we bind all you unclean spirits from being inside any person that is an elected or appointed official or an employee of any government, national or local, in Thailand and Cambodia, including the military, the intelligence services, and everything. You shall immediately, you're bound from being in these people, you must immediately depart from them. And you're bound from going into any of these people that work for the government, including but not limited to appointed and elected officials, for the next 5 years continuously. You shall not be in these people. And this binding is all done b'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree on our Heavenly Father. We'll take it from there. Okay? Now, some of these governments may put new people in the government, so let's go again. I bind you unclean spirits from being in any person that works for the national government or any of the local governments, state or city or province, or whatever the equivalent is, in any of the following countries. You shall immediately depart from these people because you're bound from being in these people. And this applies to the government of Israel, to the government of Lebanon, Turkey, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, the United States, Canada, Mexico, Spain, Portugal, the UK, Italy, Germany, France, Belgium, Austria, Sweden, Denmark. Depart from all these people immediately because you're bound from being in them. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you're further bound from going in any of these people for the next 5 years continuously, beginning now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with all this. I bind you unclean spirits from attempting to control or manipulate in any way, shape, or form any of the national or local governments, using any of your means that you can place at your disposal. For the next 5 years continuously, you shall not be able to do these actions pertaining to the governments of Israel, Iran, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Lebanon, Iraq, Turkey, Iran, Egypt, United States, Mexico, Canada, the UK, Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Germany, Austria, Sweden, Denmark. This is all done now for the next 5 years continuously. irrevocably so. There's no workarounds. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I loose your shalom, peace, and faith, and joy, and calm, and rest, and patience, lots of patience, to be on all the true believers with the true gospel, wherever they are, because that's who Satan's making war on. And I ask this, and I do this, loosing now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you could join in and leave it to our Heavenly Father, but I can feel that working. And B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I loose the gifts of the Spirit on all the true believers with the true gospel that are observing it, that they may have the gift of the Spirit and the right gift at the time they need it for the right reason. And also I pray specifically for faith to be increased with them. And I do this loosing B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this. I bind all you unclean spirits from giving, throwing, imparting, or any way, shape, or form any negative thoughts, ideas, or notions to any true believer in the world, wherever they are, causing them to worry, doubt, fret, lose faith, lose peace, lose joy, be bummed out in any way, shape, or form. Anything done in the past of this nature is cast null and void, of no value, no effect forever, and you are bound from doing these activities anymore for the next 5 years continuously to any true believer anywhere. And this binding and so forth is hereby done, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can join in with this. Oh, let's visit the airports. We're destroying the confidence and faith that these people that serve the unclean spirits have in the unclean spirits. We'll probably start getting defections. But we need a place to bring them, don't we? They're certainly not going to go into the churches. They know who runs the churches. Okay, I bind all you unclean spirits from remaining inside any person in any of the following airports that I am going to read out. You shall immediately depart from these people in the airport, and that shall apply to any grounds of the airport, the roads, the parking area, the terminal, the runways, in planes on the ground, in the gift shop, wherever. You shall immediately depart from them. When I read the name of the airport, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and all you guys that want to agree with me will agree with me, and this shall apply to Dubai International Airport, London Heathrow Airport, Mikion International Airport, which is abbreviated Incheon International Airport in Korea, abbreviated ICN. You shall depart from the people in the Singapore Shanghai Airport, and it's abbreviated SIN as its call letters. Amsterdam Airport, AMS is the call letters. Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, the call letters are CDG. Istanbul Airport, call letters IST. Frankfurt Airport, call letters FRA. Hong Kong International Airport, call letters HKG. Doha Hamed International Airport, call letters DOH. Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport, call letters BKK. Madrid Barajas Airport, call letters MAD. You are so bound and must react immediately to this B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can add in, join in. Okay. Now let's get the planes in flight. Okay, I bind you unclean spirits from remaining inside any body that's currently on any aircraft, owned, operated, controlled, rented, or leased by any of these airlines I'm going to read. When I read the name of the airline, you shall immediately depart from the people on any of these planes, even if the plane is on the ground. If they're in the plane, you have to depart from them. If the plane's flying, you have to depart from them instantly. You shall not give them any warning about this, nor ever explain to them what happened. And this binding is all done immediately for the following airlines: B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you could add in, and this applies to American Airlines, United Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, Ryanair, China Eastern Airlines, China Southern Airlines, Indigo, that's an airline, Air China, EasyJet, LATAM Airlines, ANA Airlines. These commands are in effect now, irrevocably. You must comply. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. Now, that, what we just did, probably covers at least 50 or 60,000 airline flights a day. So we got a lot of people. They're going to start realizing their unclean spirits are not so tough, and they're not anything. They're nothings. They're just liars and deceivers, and then we'll get defections. People will leave and come to the right side, to that of Jehovah and Yeshua. If they haven't committed the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, why can't they convert? They can. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I loose those that are part of the remnant that will come and serve you and be part of your family as sons and daughters. I loose them out of the grip of the unclean spirits and the false religions and the false churches and the false messianic congregations, and they may come to the true gospel and the true faith in you, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah and Yeshua. And this loosing is all done B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. I bind all you unclean spirits from doing anything to make complications, confusion, expenditure of money, loss of money, worry, doubt, fear, for any true believer walking in the true gospel and having the true gospel. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you could agree, and I bind all you unclean spirits from doing anything to run or manage or control any nation or city or state in the world. Your days of doing that are over. And you shall not do anything to help any persons in the world that serve you or otherwise to acquire wealth or make money or not waste money or not get wiped out. And I further bind you from influencing or getting involved in influencing, using servants of yours or other means to influence any court decision in any court anywhere in the world. For the next 5 years, continuously these commands are in place, and this binding is in place, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. Let me see if I'm getting suggestions in the live stream. The more we can do to damage the unclean spirits and wreck their kingdom, it takes time for it to fall apart. The better it is for us. You know, what we want is we want Satan sitting around waiting for the next shoe to drop. We don't want to sit around waiting for the next shoe to drop. That's the fate of where we were years ago, and where the people that don't have the true gospel and don't understand these things are. We don't want to be there. We want, let him be there. Let him worry about what's going to happen. The beauty of this is people watch these videos, you know, a day, 2, 3, 4 days later, and they watch them at all different times of the day. So they'll be joining in all different hours and times of the day, coming from all over around the world, or from a lot of continents and things, you know, and they'll be doing it. There's a lot of people that do it that are just not vocal, and there's some out there, and it's driving them crazy. It keeps coming on them. They don't know what to do. I bind all you unclean spirits from being inside of any person on any ship, naval ship, in the Persian Gulf or the Sea of Oman or the Red Sea, or in the waters underneath Yemen and Saudi Arabia. You are bound from remaining inside these people if they're in these waters, and if they go in these waters for the next 5 years, continuing now, you have to immediately depart from these people as soon as the very second they go into these waters. You have to depart from them. And this also applies to aircraft flying over these waters as well. Even if they're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 feet in altitude, you have to immediately depart from them when they fly over these waters. And these commands are in place for the next 5 years continuously, and you shall depart from any aircraft flying over Israel for the next 5 years continuously. Any person in any aircraft of any type flying over Israel, you shall immediately depart from, and you shall never warn them beforehand or explain to them after the fact what happened. And this binding is set in place irrevocably, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now I bind you unclean spirits from being inside any aircraft flying over the United States, Canada, Spain, Iran, Yemen, Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. Depart from any person in any aircraft for the next 5 years, continuously beginning now, that flies over any of these countries. You shall immediately depart from them, not warn them beforehand, and never explain to them what happened. And this is all done. It's a binding or a loosing. You could be loosing the unclean spirits or binding them from remaining in. It's the same thing, right? B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, we do this, and you can agree. Do all things in the name of Yeshua. So this, of course, is getting them not happy about that. They're not happy. Your like button won't work. I don't know why. Something else, but you're the only one I heard say that, so I don't know what it is. If it was something wrong, it would be a lot of people saying it doesn't work. So there's something on your end. Okay, my Heavenly Father, I pray you loose on all the true believers with the true gospel and the true believers that don't have the true gospel, the true gospel and the fullness of it, that we would understand more and be able to walk in these teachings more, and we would be able to absorb the material in the Bible more and understand it more. And I pray also I could teach more and better with deeper understandings. And I also ask that you would show me ways I could help the people with faith, confidence, joy, and so forth. And we do all this B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and join in, the Lord will. Well, I think we've given them. Yeah. Huh?
I am going to run an errand. Your breakfast is made.
Okay, thanks.
Sitting on the countertop by the refrigerator.
Okay.
They're doing nothing and it's almost noon.
Yeah, well, I'll ask again. Okay. Okay, so no, it's almost 11. It's not almost noon. So please pray for me and my wife. Help her, pray for her recovery from that thing she had. It's a stroke, not exactly a stroke, but a stroke kind of thing. And pray for us to be happy, healthy, and whole, and heal up. And please pray for my left leg where the muscle is sprained or something, where it connects to the abdomen, whatever it is. It feels strongly like a muscle thing. Please pray for healing for that, and pray for our finances. It's been a little sparse the last week. I don't know why. Pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole, and safe and secure. And pray for the relocation of our fences to be successful and work out well without any problems or difficulties. And I've got to take some links out of watches on the metal bracelet. I used to be larger. I'm not that large. So anyway, pray that I'm able to get those out. I'm worried about my eyes and my vision on that, but pray I get it done. It'd be very difficult for me to go find somebody to do it over here. I'd have to go to Tiberias, and Tiberias doesn't have any parking anymore to speak of. And it's a real problem going there. It's dangerous. Now, some kids beat up a bus driver to the point where he had to go to the hospital. They got on the bus with a scooter, probably an electric scooter, I don't know for sure. And the driver said, no, you can't take it on the bus. There's no way to put it on the bus so it could fall and hurt people. You got to put it in this compartment outside the bus. I think underneath the bus they got a bin. And the kids wouldn't do it, and they beat the driver up to the point where he had to go to the hospital. And there's been terror attacks there, so Tiberias is no longer safe. It got bad about 2-3 years ago. Now it's getting very bad. It used to be pretty good, but now it's not good. Not a good place. So there's other places that we can go. One of the ones we're thinking of is Afula, but it's a much longer ride. It's twice the ride of going to Tiberias, but it's rather safe. And there's other places we could go too, but we might start doing that. But I don't travel well. I stay in the house mostly. I don't have agoraphobia. I walk around in the streets near the house very frequently. That's not my problem. It's other issues that are physical in nature, not mental. It's a physical thing. It's not a mental thing with me. All right. So, what else? That's it, I think. And we'll keep that spiritual warfare up, and we're starting to put, much more severe stuff. We'll go with those hits that Moses and Aaron used against the Egyptians, and we'll see how we go with that. Remember, there's also calling blindness down. Paul did that. So we're supposed to be what? Prophets, priests, the head of the nations and stuff like that. I don't see why we can't call that stuff down. Remember, we're that generation in Matthew 24. This generation not perish till these things come to pass. And you combine this generation with the real true gospel, right? That's us. Where does it take you? We're the Lord's weapon. And we're supposed to spread the true gospel, and we're supposed to get the kingdom back. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of help from the two witnesses, from Apostle John. We'll have the anointed prince as well. We'll have the glory of God of Israel eventually, and lots of things. When you read Ezekiel 43, you do get the impression, let's go there, that we've already hit redemption when this happens. I meant to cover that with you. And I will right now. Hezekiah or Ezekiel 43. Hezekiah is Ezekiel in Hebrew. This thing's jumping around on me. Come on, stop jumping around. Ezekiel 43. It's early on, I think. Let's go. Did I get that right? Yeah. Afterward, he brought me to the gate of the gate that looketh towards the east, the eastern gate. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel came from the way of the east, came through the eastern gate, and his voice was like a voice of many waters, and the earth shined with his glory. And that's who Moses was on the mountain with, and that's why the Israelites said, oh, you talk to us, we don't want to hear his voice, it's too scary. I don't know exactly what a voice of many waters is going to sound like. I guess something like a waterfall or something. We'll find out. I don't think it'll bother us, but I think we'll think it's pretty cool. But I don't know. We'll find out. And it was according to the appearance of the vision which I saw, even according to the vision that I saw when I came to destroy the city. And the visions were like the vision that I saw by the river Kabar, and I fell upon my face. He destroyed the city by speaking the prophecy about it. God doesn't do anything until he reveals it with the prophets. Well, Ezekiel revealed it, being a prophet of God, and there you go. The city got destroyed. So the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of Jehovah filled the house. It's called the house because the glory of God of Israel lives in the house. And it also says that, and the earth shined with his glory. Now, when Moses came down from the mount there, they had to put a cloth over his face because he was glowing so much. And it was, that's, arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Arise, shine, shine, you getting it? Okay. Now back to verse 4. And the glory of Jehovah came into the house by the way of the gate whose prospect was towards the east. So he went in the temple from entering the eastern gate. So the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of the Lord filled the house. And I heard him speaking unto me out of the house. So they saw him. The people would have seen him, I believe, as he was going into the house. And the man stood by me, and he said unto me, son of, is possibly an angel, son of man, the place of, maybe this was the glory of God of Israel speaking to him, I think. And he said unto me, son of man, this is the place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever. So if he's saying he's going to dwell with them forever, the word there should be, I think, olam. It is out into an indeterminate period of time in the future. Oh, my leg's feeling better already. Thank you. Forever, and my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither they nor their kings by their whoredoms, nor by the carcasses of their kings in their high places. So they're not going to defile anything anymore. So they probably have the law in their heart, and they have a heart of flesh, and that's redemption. In their setting of their thresholds by the threshold, and the post by my posts, and the wall between me and them, they have even defiled my holy name by the abominations that they have committed, wherefore have consumed them in my anger. That's in the past, of course, but it's not going to happen again. Now let them put away their whoredoms and the carcasses of their kings far from me, and I will dwell in the midst of them forever. Olam again. Thou, that's a special tense that you have in the Hebrew that you don't have in the regular English and stuff. I don't even think the Greek has it. So Greek's not the right language. But anyway, thou son of man, it kind of means from now on off into the future, right? Thou son of man, show show the house to the house of Israel, show the bite, the temple, to the bite Israel, the house of Israel. Iniquities, okay, house of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities. This is like the morning after they see Yeshua and Jehovah, right? And let them measure the pattern. And if they be ashamed of all that they have done, show them the form of the house and the fashion thereof, and the going out thereof, and the coming in thereof, and all the forms thereof, all the ordinances thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the laws thereof, and write it in the sight that they might keep, in their sight, that they may keep the whole form whereof, and all the ordinances of thereof, and do them. This is the law. And that word is Torah. See, this is another change to the Torah. This is the Torah of the house, of the bite. Torah bite. That's that Torah of the house, law of the house. Upon the top of the mountain. So not only does he give us the temple, he brings the mountain back too, for it to be on the top. What's he going to do? Give us the temple, and then later on the mountain will come up and we'll have to move it? No, you get it at the same time. The whole limit thereof and about shall be most holy. Kadosh. Okay. And what does he do with this? It says Kadosh, Kadosh. I think it means holy. I'd have to dig into that. Uses the word Kadosh twice, I guess. Behold, this is the law of the house. It could mean holy is the holies. And these are, so again, it says this is the law of the house, the Torah of the house. Is that what it says? You got it, yes. And these are the measures of the altar. Now, then it goes on and he gives us, I'm going to stop here. He gives us the directions and the specific numbers and amounts and sizes to build the altar, which is a brazen altar. It's a rather simple thing. It's not that complicated. You could read it. You could also read, starting in Ezekiel 40, about the temple, and we're never given construction details at all. There's a door. We don't know how big the door is, if there's two of them, what kind of handle it has, made out of what metal or wood, what color is the door, what wood is it made out of, what is it coated with, and then, none of that. What's the floor made of, what's the ceiling made of, how high, we don't get that. We don't have anywhere near the details to build it like we were given for Moses' tabernacle. So it sounds to me, the way he's saying, I'll be in there forever and you're not going to go against me, and if you do, it'll go bad, but you're not. It does with Gog and Magog go bad with the great falling away. So I think this happens after redemption. So it says in Malachi 3, the glory of God of Israel shall suddenly come to his temple. So I think, again, we have the temple, and Elijah's working with the Levites. They get the offerings to be acceptable unto Jehovah. Boom, the blessings of the Lord come on us, as what's referred to in the scriptures as our reward. Reward again, we get the glory of God of Israel. And nobody could take him out or hurt him or harm him or anything. What are you going to do with him? Nuke him? Well, they don't have nukes to start with, but if they did, he wouldn't care. It wouldn't have any effect on him. You can't do anything to him. And he's here for us as a reward. Michael, the angel who rises up for the people of Israel. His job is to take care of us. But his job is also to make sure that the ones that are going to go astray don't, and if they do, they'll get punished. Because that's for the betterment of Israel. That's why we have the judgments in the law. You have to have the law with the judgments, and you got to execute them, or you're not doing the law. Okay, so you don't hear that taught in the churches, do you? Ha ha ha. Okay, so I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And thank you for the offerings, those that do send offerings in. And for the very few that are going to hit the thumbs up or the like button, thank you. And it takes you 2 seconds. It's amazing how many won't do it, but that's the nature of this. And that's it, kids. So I'm out. Thank you for the prayers. And that's it for now. 2 hours and 16 seconds. Not so bad. Pray I get these electronic devices working correctly, too. Okay, I'm out.